Hi guys, it's Legionero back with another quick and easy tutorial. Today's tutorial is this really cute envelope clutch. In this video, I will show you how to draft the pattern as well as put together this really cute and stylish envelope clutch. I will link the blog post as well as all of the tools and supplies you will need to make this envelope clutch in the description box below. So let's go over all the tools you're going to need and get started making this clutch. Let's talk about everything you're going to need to make your envelope clutch. You're going to need some fabric paper. This is some paper that my mom ordered off of Nancy's Notions website. And I like this paper because it's very thin. You can see through it. It's like that paper that they pull out when you're at the doctor's office when the next patient comes in, they pull it off. That's what it reminds me of. But you can use any pattern paper. I've gotten pattern paper from the Dollar Tree, Walmart. So any type of pattern paper. You're also going to need a ruler. You're going to need some pins or clips. If you're using cotton cloth, pins are fine. If you're using a leather, faux leather, or cork, you're going to need some clips. And these are wonder clips that I got off of Amazon. You're going to need some scissors, one for fabric and one for paper. Don't mix your two scissors. If you cut paper with your fabric scissors, you're going to dull your scissors. So make sure you have two separate types of scissors. You're going to need a pencil to draft your pattern, and you're also going to need a fabric marking pen or a chalk roller, whichever one you have handy. I'll be using a Sharpie just so you all can see on camera. You're going to need a 1-inch swivel clasp and a 1-inch D-ring. You're going to need coordinating thread. Of course, your sewing machine. You're going to need your iron and your ironing board. I'm also using plastic snaps, so you need your plastic snaps. And you need your tools to insert your plastic snaps. Of course, you're going to need your fabric. These are fat quarters that I got from Walmart, so I will be using this fabric for the outside and the polka dot for the inside. You're going to need some fusible fleece. And you're going to need some woven interfacing. And last but not least, some pattern weights. So let's get started. Before we draft our pattern, I've already made my strap and my strap tab. I have a video here on the channel, and I'll link that in the description box below, where I have a template for you all how to make your strap and your strap tabs. All right, so you have a template there to download. You don't have to draw out these pieces on your own. So I will link that video in the description box below, so you will already have those templates, and also show you how to make them. So now let's go ahead and grab our pattern paper, our ruler, and your pencil. I'm just going to take some pattern weights to hold my paper down. And this is a very quick and easy template to draw out. Your measurements are 10 by 18. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to draw out my 18-inch line. Then I am going to measure up 10 inches. And like I was saying at the beginning, I love this paper because you can see through it. And this mat is also helping me to make sure I stay lined up as well, along with my ruler. All right, so you're going to measure up 10 inches. And you can do the same thing on the bottom. Measure up 10 inches. And then you connect your lines, your 18-inch line. All right, so now what you're going to do, you're going to take your ruler, and this will be the top of your envelope clutch, and you're going to measure across 1 inch and make a mark. And you're going to measure down 1 inch and make a mark. And then you'll connect your marks. Alright, I'm going to do that to the other side. Measure down 1 inch and make a mark. And then measure across 1 inch, across the top 1 inch, make a mark, and then connect your marks. Alright, and then you can just kind of scribble out that line because you're not going to cut that line anyway. Alright, so now take your paper scissors and you're going to cut around your pattern. And at the top, remember you're cutting your diagonal line. Alright. So here is our pattern piece. We need to make a couple of markings on your pattern piece. So from the top edge, from the center, so what you're going to do from the center, now remember your top edge is 2 inches shorter than your bottom edge. So your top edge is 8 inches. So the center would be 4. Make a mark at the center and then measure down 1.5 inches. This is where we're going to place our snaps. Right? So that's the top, and then from the bottom at the center, you're going to do the same thing. So the bottom is 10 inches, so 5 would be the center. And again, you measure up 1.5 inches and make a mark. All right? And I'm just going to put a little circle around my mark. That just lets me know that that's where I'm going to add my snaps, or you could just write snap. That way you know. Alright, so the next marking we're going to make, we have to fold it up, right, to make it an envelope clutch. We have to fold it. So the next mark you're going to make is from the bottom. You're going to measure up 6 inches from the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And make a mark. And I'm going to make it on the other side as well. And I'm just going to draw a straight line across. And if you need to, go ahead and label your top and your bottom, but because the top is slanted, that's how I know the top from the bottom. And from the top, you're going to measure down 4 inches. And make sure you're measuring down from the very top, all right? Meaning at your points. All right, so not here. You want to measure down from your point 4 inches. All right, so from the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, and make a mark. From the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, make your mark, and then you'll draw another line across. So this is what your pattern piece should look like. All right, so I labeled a couple of things just to keep me straight. I have my circle with my snap and my circle with my snap at the top and the bottom, right? And just remember, from the center you measured down 1.5 inch on both the top and the bottom. This will be your top fold line, and I just wrote fold line that way, and that was 4 inches down from the very top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and it'll fold down like this. All right, and I also wrote fold line here because this is the bottom and we measured 6 inches up, and this will fold up. All right. And this is what it will look like once we're finished. All right, so you'll fold up 6 inches and fold down 4 inches. I also labeled what I needed to cut. You need to cut 1 of fabric, 1 of lining, 1 of fusible fleece, and 1 of woven interfacing. All right, to cut your fabric, all you need to do is just lay out your fabric. Place your pattern piece on top. Use your pattern weights. And you just cut around. You cut the same way. You cut your lining the same way, as well as your fusible fleece and your woven interfacing. You cut them all the same way. Lay your pieces down, lay your pattern piece on the top, and just cut around. So I've already cut out my pieces. This is my main piece. So I cut 1 of my main fabric and 1 of fusible fleece. You will add the fusible fleece to your main piece. And this is my lining and my woven interfacing. And you'll fuse the woven interfacing to the lining. So the fusible fleece to the main fabric piece and the woven interfacing to the lining. I also cut my fusible fleece a little bit shorter than my main piece, right? This is just so my edges won't be as thick. So I'll say about 1/4 of an inch smaller I cut my fusible fleece. Now, to fuse your interfacing to your pattern pieces, place your pattern piece with the wrong side facing up. Take your fusible fleece or your woven interfacing, whichever one you're ironing first, and the bumpy side goes face down on the wrong side of your fabric, right? So the bumpy side should be facing the wrong side of your fabric, and you just take your iron and you press until everything is fused together. Once you press it, let it cool for a few seconds, maybe about a minute, and then try to lift up the edge. If the edge peels back, then you know it's not fused on well enough, and you just go over it with the iron again. Do that to both your main pattern piece and your lining pieces. All right, so I have my fusible fleece fused to my main fabric, and I have the woven interfacing fused to my lining fabric. So take your main fabric, right, and I'm just using pattern weights to hold my pattern down on my pattern piece. And what you're going to do, you're going to make your markings, right? We made 2 snap markings and we made fold line markings. For your fold lines, you can actually cut snips, not very big snips, very small snips. You can either cut snips on your fold lines, or you can just take your marking pen or your chalk roller and you can just mark your fold lines. All right, and for your snaps, you just mark your snap placement. Right, so I'm just gonna punch through here with my pen. Right, and marking my snaps. Right, and then I'll make my mark for my fold lines. So now that we've marked our placement for our snaps, take your main piece and place it with the right side facing up, and take your lining piece and place it on top with the right side facing down, so that you have your right side spacing, and you're going to pin. All right, we're going to pin all the way around. So now that we have it pinned, we have to decide where we're going to leave our opening. Now, it's your preference whether you want to leave the opening on the right hand side or the left hand side. It depends on how you want to carry your clutch. So, again, I'm going to pretend that this is all sewn together and I left my opening. All right. Do I want my strap to hang this way? I'm right-handed, so I would leave my opening on the right-hand side because I carry everything in my right hand. If you're left-handed, you may want it on the left-hand side. So I am going to leave my opening on the right-hand side. Right, so I'm folding it over just to kind of see where I want on the side where I want to leave my opening, and this is about right. My pin here is down 4 inches, the 4 inches that I'm going to fold. So just leave a 3 to 5 inch opening on the side that you want to insert your strap. So you'll sew down that side about 4 inches, and then you'll leave an opening and start back sewing at the end of your opening about 3 to 5 inches. All right, because we want to be able to turn this to the right side. So you can use different colored pens, you can mark it if you want to, just to let you know where to start and stop. All right, and again, this just depends on how you want to carry your clutch, which side you want your strap on, which side you leave your opening on. All right, so we're going to take this to the sewing machine, starting at one mark and sew all the way around. All right, and then stop at your second mark. Before we turn this to the right side, let's clip our corners to make sure that we have nice clean corners when we turn it to the right side. So at the bottom, just going to clip really close to the stitching, don't go over the stitching. And then in the corners, so now take it and turn it to the right side through the opening that you left. and make sure you poke out all of your corners once it's all turned around. Once you get it turned around to the right side, you have all your corners done all nice and neat. You can take it to the ironing board and give it a good press. Be careful if you use the fabric marking pen that goes away with heat though. Remember your markings that you made for your snaps. Alright. And make sure that you press your seam allowance on the inside for the side that you left with the opening, right? You want to make sure you press this so it will be nice and neat as well. Now that we have everything all pressed nice and neat, we can go ahead and add our snaps. Now, you should have your markings, but I just like to check and make sure everything is going to line up correctly. All right, so I go ahead and fold up my 6 inches. And fold down my 4 inches. Right, and I make sure everything is going to line up nice and neat with my markings, and I go ahead and take my awl and I go ahead and punch my hole. All right, and you can punch it through both layers. Just make sure you don't punch through the bottom layer of your envelope clutch. So I have my hand here, right, so I don't punch through all the bottom layer. All right, these are your 2 flat pieces. All right, so what you're going to do, and if you need to use your guide again to fold to make sure everything is nice and neat, 1 flat piece of your snap, the top part of it, goes on at the top. It goes on the right side. All right, so you just punch that through the right side. So the flat part is on the right side of the top. All right, now I'm going to take the other flat piece and I'm going to put it on the inside. All right, so I'm placing it on the inside through the lining piece. All right, because remember, you're folding up, and if you were to place the flat side on the main piece on the outside, it wouldn't snap. All right, all right, so you should have a male and female piece as well. This is my female piece. And this is my male piece. All right, so you have your 2 flat pieces, you have your female piece and your male piece. So I'm going to place my male piece at the top of my clutch. All right, so you have the flat side on the outside of the clutch. You take your male piece and you place it onto your flat piece. You take your tool and you press down, and the flat piece goes on the black part of your tool. your snap pliers. Keep calling your tool. All right, and you just press down. All right. So that's one snap done. Now take your female snap, and your female snap goes on the outside, because remember your, my flat piece is coming up. Right, remember your flat piece is on your lining, so your female piece goes on the main piece. You take it, and you press it down. I'm going to open mine up, because when you press down the female piece, you should hear a snap for it to snap in place. If you don't snap it down in place tight enough, then your snaps, when you take your pliers, they won't, it won't push it down far enough, and your snaps won't snap in place well. You take your pliers and press down. Now you should have instructions that come with your snaps and your snap pliers. So if yours is done differently, make sure you follow the instructions that you have for your snap and snap pliers. So we can test this. Fold it up your 6 inches, and then fold that down and snap it in place. All right, but of course we're not done. Just wanted to put our snaps in. All right, so open up your envelope clutch. Take your strap tab, and you're going to place it on the inside where you left your opening. Right, so again, I like to use it as a guide. I fold up and I fold down. And I have my opening here. So this gives me a gauge on, you have your opening. This gives me a gauge on where to put my strap tab. All right. So you place it right here. It'll be nice and neat. Right. And then you pin it in place. Right, because you want it to be, you want it so you can fold over your top without interfering with your snap tab. Right, so you're putting it on the little flat piece here. So you're putting it on the flat section of your envelope clutch. When you fold it down, you should have like a flat section here. All right, so go ahead and place that. Take your pin and pin it in place. Alright. Check your measurements one more time. You measure up 6 inches and fold. I'm going to take some clips and I'm going to clip this in place, because what we're going to do, we're essentially just going to top stitch all the way around, securing your strap tab in place as well as securing your sides, and then just making the rest nice and neat with a nice neat top stitch. Right, so it doesn't matter where you start. I'm going to start here on this side, and I'm going to sew all the way around, top stitching this top area. I'm going to back stitch a couple of times here to make sure that my strap tab is secure, and then I'm going to continue to sew all the way around to close up my envelope clutch. If you're using a leather, faux leather, or a cork fabric, you may want to top stitch this edge here But since I'm using a cotton cloth and I pressed it really well, it's laying down really well, so I'm not going to even bother top stitching. But you can top stitch along the bottom and then fold up and then go ahead and do your stitching all the way around your envelope clutch. All right, your envelope clutch is all done. All you need to do now is fold it over, give it a good press, take your strap, add on your strap, and it is all done. And I made a smaller version of it in a brown faux leather, and it has a animal print lining. So if you wanted something smaller, you could just change the measurements on it. You can just play with this. If you wanted something bigger, you can make it wider. I wouldn't say necessarily make it longer, but I would make it wider. You can make it longer if you want to. It's up to you. But just play with your pattern, play with your measurements, and see what you come up with. If you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you'll be notified each time I post a video, and I'll see you in my next tutorial.